And then you make a big stop against Baylor. Baylor! Oh!
Oh shit, they actually did it! They actually fucking did it! So if I'm a Conference fan, that franchise guy's gonna be so fucking happy about that. Oh my goodness! They actually did it, bro. I'm gonna be so happy, bro. He called the night!
I called it!
No, we all called it. Did we?
No, hold on, Warren. I know I'm supposed to fucking hate it. I don't fucking hate it. I'm just gonna keep it real. I hate it. Okay?
Oh, God. What?
Oh my god, bro. What the fuck?
Detroit on the clock.
Get the... Are you fucking kidding me?
Yes, sir. Detroit is on the clock. Wow. And their pick is in as well.
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
So, Chris, Dallas in a last-minute exchange decided to trade their pick off to the Detroit
What the
Lions.
fuck are you doing, Jerry? And could not leave the defense! You got me jumping! It'd be called cream pie smash.
Oh, God, dude. I knew it.
So, West Virginia played about as good as my fucking hairline is right now. And you probably see my hairline, Bailey. It is bad. Okay?
God!
For the love of football.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pigskin Mafia podcast. I am your host, TJ Riddell. As I'm making my picks, I am going to be talking about what happened last week. You know, I didn't do so hot in either NFL or college this past week, you know, but you know what? Fuck it. I don't give a shit. It's all about having fun doing it as well. So, let me just tell you one thing. The Colts are for real. The Colts are for real. Detroit looks good. And the Chiefs are starting to resurge again. It's one of those things where you're starting to see where everybody's starting to pick up their pieces, where everybody's starting to figure themselves out in the NFL side of things. College football side, this is where everything starts to be more clear on who is the best, who is going to be the it factor this season, you know, and there's several teams, in my opinion, that still have that opportunity to be the best in the world of college football. But, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. We started a little later today because I was fucking exhausted, guys. I really was. But I'm rejuvenated. I feel ready to go today. I'm drinking some Golden Chick sweet tea. Holy fuck, guys. And, you know, there's a certain game that I did call. And I did say that there was probably going to be some chaos this weekend. One game I didn't get correct, but I had a feeling that this game was going to go down to the wire. I had a feeling that a certain team was going to exploit this top 10 team. And I'm talking about the Louisville Cardinals. You know, I picked against them. But for some weird reason, I had a strange feeling that Louisville was going to go in there and bust Miami's ass up. And not only that, they were going to exploit Carson Beck for the flawed quarterback that he is. You know, and I don't necessarily hate Carson Beck. I just don't think he's that good. I never thought he was that good, if I'm being completely honest. But the point is, Miami looked horrible in that game, and Louisville looked fucking phenomenal in that game. Big win for the Cardinals. They win 24-21. That defense picked Carson Beck off 4 times. 4. You got to be kidding me, Carson Beck. I thought Georgia Carson Beck left. Nah, he's back, folks. He's back. You know, and I called it. He was going to screw Miami at some point, and this is the first game that he's done it. You know, and it was bound to happen at some point. I thought it would happen against Florida State in Tallahassee, but I was wrong. It was Louisville. And it looks like, to me, Georgia Tech is the best team out of the ACC. The Yellow Jackets look fucking phenomenal. So, good win for the Louisville Cardinals. Then we move on to the Big 12, which this game came down to the wire, as I thought it would. But I picked the wrong team again. Houston surprises me and ends up winning this game. Arizona fought hard, fought valiantly, but Connor Wigman and that Houston offense looked good together, you know, and Houston ends up winning it 31-28. What a win. Now, one of the 4 games I got right, TCU versus Baylor, the rivalry. Everybody knew that Baylor wasn't going to win this game. It was just a matter of by how much. You know, these are always entertaining games between TCU and Baylor, but, you know, it's one of those things where Baylor always comes up short against TCU somehow. Somehow in some fashion. And Sawyer Robertson did not play as well as I thought he could play in this game. I did bet against him on the picks, and he did throw a pick in that game, so that's good for me. But even though I didn't win any money, thanks to Underdog. But I picked TCU to win. They win 42-36. Now, here's a team that I'm going to give praise to for a second. Vanderbilt. You know, they used to be the bottom of the rung of the ladder in the SEC. Everybody would blow past Vanderbilt. Everybody. Even Charleston State or Charleston Southern. You know, Clark Lay has done a phenomenal job over there at Vanderbilt. He said he was going to change that program around. Everybody was laughing at him, even myself. And my God, he did the damn thing and beat a 10th ranked LSU team that I picked to win that game because I thought they were going to be focused. I thought that they knew that they had 2 good opponents coming up between Vanderbilt and this upcoming week, Texas A&M. But man, Vanderbilt played their fucking asses off in that game and pretty much exploited LSU's defense in a way that I'm really not certain how LSU's going to do at home against A&M this week. But it was a big program win for Vanderbilt. What a win for Vanderbilt. 3 claps for Vandy. Just an absolute good job by Diego Pavia as well, using his feet, throwing on-time passes. I mean, he might win the Heisman this year, depending on what happens, you know, and how the layout of the SEC goes, you know. And he still has a pretty tough defense to deal with Missouri and also Texas coming up and yada, yada, yada. But what a program win for Vandy, you know. They looked phenomenal out there. Good win for Clark Lay and the Commodores. For Brian Kelly and LSU, they got to figure shit out. Or Brian Kelly's going to be on that shit or get off the pot. You know, like the LSU fan base is getting tired of it. I have a buddy. Shout out to Rakeem. He was my number 1 quarterback. Getting into middle school, but he shows me Saints videos and LSU videos where the fan base is just about had it with these guys underselling. And I told Rakeem this. I said Brian Kelly is not a good fit for LSU, and it's honestly proven me right so far. So for LSU, they just gotta win out. They still have a tough schedule to deal with. And not only that, you got A&M, who's undefeated, ranked in the top 5. They're actually number 3 right now. And they look good. I'll be honest. They look tremendous out there. And this is me giving A&M praise. This is a weird year for me, because I can't really joke about Little Brother this year until obviously the Lone Star Showdown. But it's one of those games where we will talk about it later, but man, what a fucking phenomenal win by Vanderbilt. They displayed dominance in that game, in my opinion, especially in the trenches. Game number 6, another disappointing pick for me. I picked Washington to beat Michigan. Michigan ended up winning 24-7. They bounced back after that humiliating loss to the USC Trojans. Washington, I don't know. Like they're good, but they're bad. They're like a watered down Michigan in a way. Like I kind of looked at this game kind of like that. They both are watered down versions of themselves. But Michigan is kind of like a watered down version of, let me think. Well, I can't really think about anything right now, but Michigan played great against Washington, though. Washington looked like Michigan in this game. Like a watered down Michigan in this game, but good win for the Wolverines as they move on to 5-2, and we'll see how their young quarterback progresses this season. Then we move on to our game of the week, which is number 5 Ole Miss taking on number 9 Georgia. In my opinion, here's the reason why I said this is the game of the week. Because you can never count out Kirby Smart's defense. Even though they gave up 35 points, you can never count them out. He's just too damn smart of a defensive coordinator. Even though I don't have a whole lot of respect for him as far as like trying to win a game, I still don't have a whole lot of respect for Kirby Smart because of the simple fact that he plays victim to everything. But in this game, I didn't see any of that. I saw a coach that was wanting his team to win a shootout, and it's pretty ironic when you think about it. The SEC used to talk down to the Big 12 because, well, the Big 12 was a shootout series, a shootout conference. Well, if you look at the SEC, I mean, 31-24 is kind of a shootout between LSU and Vandy. 37-20, Alabama beat Tennessee. 43-35, Georgia beat Ole Miss, and Georgia had to come back from behind and win this game at home. So, both teams showed a lot of discrepancies, but I will say this. Trinidad Chambliss should be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season for Ole Miss. He looked phenomenal in that game. I really liked Trinidad Chambliss in that game. It was just the last 2 drives that Georgia really adjusted really well and made him vulnerable in that game. And I really enjoyed watching this game. It was one of the few games that I've watched this weekend, and I sat there and I was like, holy shit, what a fucking game, But good win for Georgia, and another top 10 team falls. So that's team number 3 out of the top 10. Well, now we're getting to Texas Tech. Texas Tech comes into Tempe, Arizona to take on the Arizona State Sun Devils. And after a humiliating loss to Utah, without Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt comes back into the game for Arizona State against a Texas Tech Red Raiders team that's been rolling people. I actually had Arizona State to win this game. I did. I'll be honest. Arizona State, without Sam Leavitt, was kind of crazy. But, you know, I really enjoyed Arizona State last season, and I know the capabilities of what Arizona State can do at home with Sam Leavitt. You know, and I got to be honest. And shout out to these people in the chat. I just saw the chat, by the way. Shout out to you guys. I was very impressed with the way Arizona State bounced back after a 42-10 loss to Utah. And I actually picked Arizona State to beat Texas Tech. And everybody that I talked to about it, they were like, "You're fucking nuts. Why would you pick Arizona State over Texas Tech?" And I was like, you got to understand something. I grew up watching Texas Tech football. I know when they're about to fall. And not only that, Texas Tech tends to start fast, but end horribly. You know, and I'm not discrediting this team this year, but also, facts are facts. Arizona State with Sam Leavitt is a lot better than what people look at based off the record. They barely lost to a Mississippi State team that is pretty darn good, that I'm pretty scared about for my Longhorns, especially that Michael Taff is out. But I got to tell you, it was a good game. Like, Arizona State held their own until the fourth quarter, where Texas Tech started to spring back up, and they were about to win the game. And then Sam Leavitt led the drive, the last drive for Arizona State, and won them the game 26-22. Utterly outstanding performance, and what a bounce back for Arizona State as they move on to 5-2. You know, and Texas Tech suffers their first defeat of the season, but, you know, Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders still control their own destiny in the Big 12. It's going to be an exciting year in the Big 12 because there's teams that we didn't even think of that are in the top of the race right now, like fucking Cincinnati. Their only loss is to a Nebraska team that has Timu Patrick Mahomes. But what a win for the Sun Devils. Now let's go to I forgot I had 11 games here, not 10 last week for some weird reason. There's just too many games I couldn't refuse to not pick up. Tennessee at Alabama. I picked Alabama to win this game, and they fucking steamrolled Tennessee. Tennessee always has trouble with Alabama in Tuscaloosa, you know, and it's utterly incredible how bad Tennessee plays in Tuscaloosa. Like, if you really look at it, in the landscape of things, in the history of Tennessee Volunteers football, they always play horrible in Athens and Tuscaloosa. Why is that, Vols fans? What does Tennessee have to do to change the narrative that Tennessee can't win the big one in Tuscaloosa or Athens? Now, they've gotten to the point where they could beat Alabama at home. That's good news. Bad news is they need to find a way to beat Alabama on the road. You know, and it's gotten to that point where Tennessee needs to figure that out. and it's not a head coaching problem, it's a talent problem. You know, Alabama has really been rolling over the last couple weeks, and I would not be surprised if they make it to the SEC championship. It's just an amazing turnaround from when they lost to Florida State week 1, then dominated Tennessee to week 8. You know, and I've always been impressed with Alabama's ability to bounce back after a bad game, especially with the game against Texas a couple years back with Nick Saban. They made it to the college football playoff. They were the Final Four, you know, and it's just incredible to see how well this Alabama team really bounced back. And Kalen DeBoer isn't the problem. Let's just keep it real. Like, Alabama's starting to look like they are legit this season. They're one of the few teams I'm like sitting there going, okay, they could be in the national championship. So, last two games here before we okay, it actually went back to 2 games. Last 2 games before we get to the NFL side of things. I picked USC to beat Notre Dame. And that's going to be the last time we see this rivalry in quite some time, unfortunately. But here we are. Last game between USC and Notre Dame. Who would have thought about that? All because of conference realignment. All because of TV deals. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about that shit. We need to bring back rivalries. We need to bring back rivalries such as USC Notre Dame. Why in the fuck are we getting rid of a fucking moneymaker? Like, why? Why does Notre Dame and USC not have to play each other? That is a legit moneymaker. 2 blue bloods that absolutely fucking hate each other. Battle for a fucking shillelagh. If anybody knows what a fucking shillelagh is, go ask Finley from WWE. You know, they battle for an Irish tradition where people could clobber your fucking head with. You know, and this is the last time we're going to see the Gold Shells take on the Trojans, you know, and it sucks. It sucks for me as a college football historian fan. And, you know, it is what it is, you know, but good win for Notre Dame. And if they continue to win out, they're going to find themselves back in the college football playoff. It is going to be an incredible season for Notre Dame if they continue to roll like this. Just like Alabama, the resurgence is uncanny, and I guarantee you if Notre Dame and A&M met up again, we'd probably see a different scenario. We'd still see a fantastic game, but man. And then the final college football game, Utah, BYU, the Holy War. You know, this was a pretty decent game in my opinion. I was watching the Texas game, but I kept up with it. I kept up with a lot of games, actually. More or less the USC and Notre Dame game than any game. But Utah, I picked them to win against BYU, but BYU comes away with the victory over the Utes, and the Storm and Mormons of Brigham Young find a way to win the game, and they look incredible doing it. What's up, Evan? I like this rivalry here too. So let's just keep in-state or hated rivals together. That's all I ask for, and that will conclude the college football side of things. Now, NFL side, I went 2-3. Whoop-de-fucking-do. I don't really care. 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 I don't Rams, Jags. I picked the Jags to win because they've been on a hot streak, but LA kicked the shit out of Jacksonville. And, oof, what a fucking brutal defeat I suffered in that game. Eagles, Vikings. The Eagles beat the Vikings in this game. Pretty close game, but I had the Eagles winning and they won, so the Dirty Birds win. Now this game right here, Indianapolis at Los Angeles Chargers. Now I picked the Chargers to win, and I still have them as my division AFC West champions. But Indy is for real, guys. Let's be real. Danny Dimes in Indianapolis is for real. Well, good luck, Evan. Go kick some ass. I don't know what it is with the Chargers. Like, they look wishy-washy right now. But the Colts look for real. They really do. I enjoy watching them play. Especially with Danny Dimes. He looked phenomenal in that game. But what a win for the Colts. I'm just going to say that right now. They physically dominated the Chargers in that game. It was incredible the way they won. 49ers, Falcons. Not very exciting to watch, in my opinion. But the 49ers ended up winning this game 20-10. It was a low-scoring, back-and-forth type of game, but the 49ers found a way to seal the game at 2:26 left to play, and the 49ers ended up winning 20-10. And Michael Penix actually threw almost 100 yards more than Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones. And Christian McCaffrey had almost 130 yards on the ground alone, and he had 72 receiving yards. So I'm looking at ESPN right now. So I don't usually talk about stats unless I'm reading ESPN. And then how about fucking Detroit putting a belt to ass to Tampa Bay? I didn't even think that Detroit had a shot in this game. I figured they would play their butts off, but good God, they wore Baker and Tampa Bay out in this game. Like, at one point in the third quarter, it was 5 points. And then Jahmyr Gibbs scores a touchdown, makes it 21-9. They ended up winning 24-9. And that defense gave Baker so many problems in that game. It's really, really impressive the way Detroit played in that game, especially when they play at their house. So, what a win for the Detroit Lions. But that concludes our recap. But before we talk about our picks, which I still got to make my picks. I'm only on pick number 3 in college. So, it'll be on the fly tonight. So, Billy Napier is finally out of Florida. Even after beating Mississippi State. Which scares me, by the way. Talk about that later on. Florida decided to let Billy Napier go. Oh, Billy boy. Sweet baby Billy. They have released, or they have gotten rid of Billy Napier. And I have a feeling they're going to hire James Franklin. I just got a gut feeling that Penn State's going to hire Manny Diaz. Then Florida's going to hire James Franklin. I don't know why. I just have that gut instinct that that's what's going to go down. Probably after this season. it may be announced when Florida's season's over with that James Franklin is hopping on board with Florida. And right before Penn State's season's over with and Duke is in a fucking meaningless bowl game, Manny Diaz is going to get hired by Penn State. I just have that gut feeling. And I hope Florida and Penn State play each other when that happens. So that way we can see how well Penn State could do without James Franklin. And James Franklin is a winner in my opinion. I'm not saying anything bad about Manny Diaz, but facts are facts. His fucking defenses aren't there. And Billy Napier. He's just not a Power 5 or Power 4 head coach in my eyes. I never saw him as a Power 4 head coach. He did well in the Group of 5, but he needed more time before he could take a big job like Florida. And I just don't think he had enough experience to run a program like Florida. And he had some incredible wins, don't get me wrong, but he just was not a good fit for Florida, in my opinion. And not only that, you got to have experience with it. You can't just have some fucking Group of 5 slat dick to take over a program. We've seen it time in and time out again that these Group of 5 coaches that come in and try to change a culture of a fucking Power 4. We saw it with Tom Herman. We saw it with Charlie Strong. We saw it with many guys like Billy Napier. It just did not mesh well. For me, a program like a Florida needs a guy with a resume in the Power 4 scene. James Franklin, Lane Kiffin, even a guy in the NFL like John Gruden. That's the type of guy you want at Florida, especially a John Gruden or a James Franklin, because they actually give a shit about how you play on the field. I'm not saying Manny Diaz doesn't. I'm not saying that anybody that's a candidate for Florida isn't that way. I just feel like that James Franklin and John Gruden fit that mold to where their players are going to play for them. And it's very evident that Penn State really played for James Franklin before this season. And to touch back to what Nick Saban said to James Franklin, he's absolutely right. Like, I'm going to be honest. He was right about the way Penn State treated James Franklin. And I hope that he gets a job soon so that way he could prove Penn State wrong at some point. It would be awesome if the first year he gets hired on by Florida, they meet up in the playoffs somehow or meet up in a bowl game. He beats the shit out of Penn State to let them know, hey, you hired this guy to replace me. But it's time for Florida to move on from Billy Napier. And I felt like it was a long time coming for Napier and Florida because, my God, how long is a guy going to sit there and be mediocre? Brian Kelly's on that verge right now with LSU. But here we are. College football week 9 picks this week. Game number 1, we're going to start off with a top 15 matchup right out of the gate. We got number 8 Ole Miss taking on number 13 Oklahoma in Norman, which is kind of why I'm being reluctant about this game. At the heat of the moment, I thought Ole Miss was going to come into Norman and beat the hell out of Oklahoma. But you know what? I kind of took a step back, took a deep breath, and really thought about it. Norman is very loud. Teams have trouble over there. And if we really look back at last year's Oklahoma, a similar Alabama team went in there and got their asses kicked by a mediocre Oklahoma team. This year, the way that Oklahoma played against South Carolina this season, or this past week, thank you, Georgina Woods. Wow, we're getting a lot of people in the chat this evening. Shout out to these people. Breast cancer is serious. P.S. Reed. Evan Cadigan and Georgina Woods. Whoa. A lot of emojis there. But also, when I'm making these picks, I want to see people in the chat pick their own picks as well. But in this game, I was really impressed with Trinidad Chimbliss last week. But also, Oklahoma really did well with the run game. So, will it be a shootout? Will it be a low-scoring affair between Oklahoma and Ole Miss? Because Oklahoma has still, in my opinion, one of the top 10 defenses in all of college football. I gotta be honest. I think Ole Miss is probably the best offense that Oklahoma's gonna see for a while. It's gonna be tough because I'm not really sold on that Ole Miss defense either. Come think about it. I'm going with Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss comes away with the victory. I think that they bounce back after that Georgia loss. I think they come in pissed off. And Lane is such a smart guy. He is such a smart coordinator that he understands how to deal with the Brent Venables. You know, he's going to treat Venables like Sark treated Venables in the Red River rivalry. Although, I think this game's going to be a lot closer. I think so. It's going to be a 7-point difference. Maybe a field goal with that, with a 10-point win. I don't know. But I got the Rebels beating the Sooners. Game number 2. Number 18, USF, who comes off of a 6-1 season. Probably the best season that USF's had in a very long time. Best start, anyway. They travel to Memphis to take on the Memphis Tigers, who just lost to a UAB Blazers team. I think these two teams are two of the top teams in the American, but there's one team that nobody's talking about that could potentially be the American Conference champion, and that would be my Navy midshipman. Anchors away, motherfucker. But all with that being said, I like USF in this matchup. I think USF has a really good defense, even though the America Conference is a high-scoring conference. And Memphis does have a potent offense on the ground and throwing the ball. I really enjoy watching USF. I really do. They bring a lot of intensity. They bring a lot of attitude. They have a mean streak like Miami did. They are just a bunch of mean motherfuckers, you know. And I like USF in this matchup. Give me the Bulls. Game number 3, we have Northwestern 5-2 traveling to Nebraska 5-2. We're gonna have there we go. For a second I lost connection. Where was I? Northwestern, Nebraska. We have Timu, Patrick Mahomes versus a very stymied Northwestern defense, and Northwestern has been really kind of a shocker out of the Big Ten, if we're being honest. Nebraska, they were supposed to be a really good team this season, but they've kind of played off-kiltered in my opinion. They didn't look that great against Minnesota, and I as much as I don't like Patrick Mahomes wannabe Jr., I got to give it to Nebraska in this game. I think Nebraska comes in, plays more physical football than Northwestern, and they beat Northwestern in a tight one. But give me Nebraska in this game. Game number 4. Missouri, or it's not Missouri, it's Missouri. The Mizzou Tigers, number 15 in the country, travel to number 10 Vanderbilt. Who would have thought in today's day and age that Vanderbilt would be number 10 in the country, let alone be in the top 10 in the country? Well, I can tell you a certain group that does, and that's the Commodore fan base. They look phenomenal. And Missouri won a very tight matchup against Auburn, a struggling Auburn at that. I'm not really sold on Missouri this season. As much as I like Eli Drinkwitz, as much as I like Pribula, when he runs, has a hard time holding onto the football. And that Vanderbilt Commodore defense loves turnovers. They really do. They want to punch the ball out. They want to be physical. They want to hurt you. I like Vanderbilt in this game. Diego Pavia has really, really took a step forward this season. They look good. I'm going to be honest. They look really good this season. And that frightens me as a Texas fan. Because we still got a couple games before we even hit 500 in that series record against Vanderbilt. We got to catch up, Texas. But back to Vanderbilt. I'm just surprised how well they played this season. They look like a top 10 team this year. They might sneak into the playoffs. I don't know how, but they might. But I got Vanderbilt in this game. Game number 5. BYU, number 11, who just came off of a big Holy War victory over the Utes. They are traveling to Iowa State, who is 5-2. Rocco Beck in the house for the Cyclones. This is going to be a big game for Iowa State. And this is going to be a must-win for BYU. If BYU doesn't win this game, they are, in my opinion, out of the Big 12 championship race. Even though they're undefeated, I'm not really sold on BYU. I don't know why. I'm just not sold on them. Even though in the preseason I had them winning the conference. I had them winning the conference this season. I think. I got to recheck my statements before I make myself look like an ass in front of my people. Apparently, I don't have it. Yeah, I don't have it. But, anywho, fuck it, whatever. I am just not ready to say, yep, BYU is going to be the Big 12 champion. And they have a major test in Ames. I think Ames, Iowa is probably one of the more underrated Big 12 stadiums in the conference right now. They've really shined since Matt Campbell showed up over there. And who's to say Matt Campbell isn't a candidate for that Penn State job or Florida job? Let's just be real. Let's be real for a second. Matt Campbell has done a really good job at Iowa State. What better way or what better face that nobody's thinking about? Hire a guy like Matt Campbell into Florida or Penn State. I think he'd fit better in Penn State, in my opinion, because he is familiar with the Midwest competition. I don't know how he'd fare in the SEC, but to me, in my eyes work. I think he'd fit better in Penn State. Nobody's thinking about Matt Campbell. Nobody. But I could see him going to Penn State. But anyway, back to this game. Iowa State has a really good defense. BYU has a pretty decent offense. Again, I'm not sold on BYU right now. I'm going to go with Iowa State in this game. Even though they're the favorites, they're sort of the underdogs in this game. Iowa State is a 3.5 point favorite, but by God, they're a good defense. I'll say that. BYU does have a good defense, but I'm not ready to get on the high horse with BYU just yet. They still got to prove to me that they can beat Iowa State, but I don't think they will. So give me Iowa State over BYU. Game number 6, number 23, Illinois taking on Washington. They're both 5-2. Both teams have horrible losses on their resume, in my opinion. It just so happens that Illinois did play better competition, in my opinion. I'm going to go with Illinois in this game. I don't think that Washington has a relatively good defense to match up against Illinois' offense. And also, I feel like Washington is going to have trouble with Brett Bielema's blitz packages. So, give me Illinois. Game number 7, another Big Ten game. Minnesota 5-2 taking on Iowa 5-2. This one is very intriguing. Iowa's offense. Nobody's talking about Iowa's offense, by the way. Fucking dominating right now. But Minnesota's defense is pretty damn good as well. I think this is going to come down to turnovers and field position. I got Iowa in this game. As much as I like Minnesota right now, I got Iowa in this game. They're 8.5 point favorites for a reason. I like their offense right now. They are rolling. They are rolling right now. And don't be surprised if they end up pulling off an upset at some point this season. Game number 8. My number 22 Texas Longhorns, who survived a fucking scare in Lexington, Kentucky. J-Mo is probably going to laugh his pants off based off of what I have to say about that. Holy shit. If I have another aneurysm, cardiac arrest, diarrhea while watching a fucking Texas game against Kentucky again. Holy shit. That was a scary, scary game. I never want to go into Lexington, Kentucky again as a Longhorn. It is a scary place for every SEC team. Even though their record indicates different, Kentucky looked good out there, and Texas looked horrible. They really did. And not only that, they got my sweet baby boy, Michael Taft. His thumb's fucked up now, so he's going to have to miss a couple weeks. And guess what? We have to travel to Starkville, Mississippi, home of the biggest idiot in the world, Brandon Walker. Even Starkville, Mississippi hates that guy. Every Mississippi State hates that guy. I'm serious. Like, Brandon Walker has never even taken a snap. He has never pulled He's never countered. He's never trapped. He's never done any of that. He's never held onto a football while playing football. He may have played backyard bullshit, or what we call smear the queer. Okay, I'll say it. We played a game called Smear the Queer. That's what Brandon Walker is. He's a queer. But anyway, Texas rolls into Starkville, Mississippi. We're a 6.5 point favorite. We are, the over and under is 45.5. Our defense has played their butts off. Meanwhile, the offensive line still has struggles. Mississippi State's not a bad football team. Even though they just lost Florida in the swamp, so did we. So I'm not discrediting Mississippi State at all. I do not like this game for my Longhorns right now, because of the simple fact that this is another rat poison game. It's another rat poison game for my boys in burnt orange and white. And I really, really hope Arch is able to get some good passes off and our offense figures their shit out before we play against Vanderbilt or Georgia. Especially Georgia, because we're playing at Georgia this season, and that's not a fun place to play at either. But we're playing in Starkville, which I love their fan base. I fucking love Mississippi State. Their fucking cowbells is what gets me going. I'm going to give you a quick history about me and Mississippi State fans. I went and watched the Taxler Bowl back in 2017. Sat front row seat to watch Lamar Jackson's last football game in college as a Louisville Cardinal. Sat there and watched a Heisman play football. He's not the first Heisman that I watched, by the way. But getting to watch him play against a tough and rowdy SEC Mississippi State ball club who is really good at that time, but just could not win big games. I tell you what, the SEC fan base in Mississippi, or the Mississippi State fan base, was so respectful towards me. And I asked them a very specific question that 4 years later we did not realize it was going into fruition. I said, what if Texas were to play in the SEC? They told me they would love that. They said we'd much rather have you guys in the SEC than Texas A&M. And this is coming from a Mississippi State fan to a Texas fan. Back in 2017 when I was in the Navy, just got back from Fallon, Nevada. And they told me that we'd much rather have Texas than A&M in the SEC. I was like, hell yeah. But I did say, but we want Oklahoma with us. And they're like, we understand that because we want rivalries in this conference. And so, 4 years later, Texas ends up going to the SEC. And to those Mississippi State fans that I talked to that day, I very much appreciate you guys for the hospitality. Because without you guys, this show would not be possible, and my love for college football wouldn't have been more excited as ever. And the memory of just talking to a Mississippi State fan. How about that? Mississippi State versus Louisville. Check that out. I was wearing a black leather jacket in that game with a Texas shirt on Underneath it, it was cold as fuck. So don't judge me. I was sitting next to the fucking instant replay booth behind the Mississippi State bench. So if you look back, you'll see some fucking idiot wearing a Longhorn hat on the front row with a bunch of rowdy Mississippi State fans, which those cowbells are legit, by the way. They're fucking loud. Like, cling, 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 you know, so I very much enjoy it very much. But back to this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think Mississippi State's much better than we thought they were going to be this season. But I still got my Longhorns. Much respect to the Mississippi State fans and Bully the Bulldog. Shout out to him for taking a picture with me. At some point, we'll probably show a picture of me and the mascot for Mississippi State at some point. But shout out to Mississippi State. They have really good fans, in my opinion. I never got to meet a whole lot of SEC fans, but if I had to choose a good one, Mississippi State's a fun fan base to talk to. Highly recommended for my Longhorn fan base. But moving from the SEC back to the Big 12. Houston, 6-1, led by Connor Wigman, and Willie Fritz travels to Tempe, Arizona, as they got a major win by beating Texas Tech last week, an undefeated Texas Tech. Number 24, Arizona State, back in the top 25. They're 5-2. Arizona State is a 7.5 point favorite. The over and under is 47.5, and the money line is 240 for Houston. I gotta tell you, I like Willie Fritz, but man, Kenny Dillingham, he is something else. I love it. I love the way he coaches. I love the way he encourages his players to play well. I really like Arizona State. I really do. Because they have a certain mean-streaking attitude towards them that we can beat your ass anytime, any day. And I understand they lost Utah 2 weeks prior, 42-10. But let's be real. I think Arizona State's got a better roster than Houston. As much as I want my Texas team to win, I want Houston to win, I got to go with the Sun Devils. I do. I think they're on a hot streak after beating Texas Tech. I think their morale is boosted. I mean, even though it was AI, we saw Kenny Dillingham do the worm. You know, the emotions are high. Everything is going great in Tempe now after they just beat a very, very difficult Texas Tech team. And they handled Texas Tech for most of the game. So, I got to go with the Sun Devils in this game. Last game to pick. Undefeated number 3, Texas A&M, travels to Baton Rouge to take on number 20, LSU. You know, this game has a lot of uncertainty to me. This game has a lot of what ifs, a lot of crazy games have happened in this little rivalry that they have. You know, LSU, Texas A&M, the fan bases hate each other, by the way. They can't stand the Goobs. They can't stand the Gator fuckers or whatever the Aggies called LSU fans. Not my words. You know, this is going to be a very, very interesting football game, in my opinion. And this is probably one of the bigger tests for this undefeated A&M teams, or the undefeated A&M team. Mike Elko has done an exceptional job this season, especially the way they handled that game against Arkansas. That's a rivalry game. I get it. It's not an easy game to win. And I feel the same way about this game. This is not an easy game to win for A&M, especially in Baton Rouge. And A&M, I don't think has ever won in Baton Rouge. Correct me if I'm wrong, any A&M fans that are within the chat or just on social media in general. I think that came from Elko himself, but, I don't know. But let me just say this right now about this game. There's a lot of uncertainty about this game. I don't know. I didn't know who to pick. I was talking all my shit, saying that LSU's going to beat Texas A&M, blah, 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 blah. But reality says I really don't know who's going to win this game. Because it's one of these types of games, like a Miami, Florida State, Texas, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, to where we don't know what's going to happen in this game. We really don't. And so, I finally looked at myself in the mirror today. I looked at myself, and I looked at the mirror, and I pointed at myself. You're going to pick the right fucking pick here. You're going to pick the right fucking pick. I'm going with Texas A&M. I think A&M thus far has a complete offense. They have a lot of good weapons on the exterior, on the outside with Concepcion and I think Cravers. I think that's his last name. And then on the flip side, on the run game, you got Marcel Reed, even though he has ran the ball less this season, I've seen. Ruben Owens, who has done a tremendous job. This A&M team is looking pretty damn good, in my opinion. I don't think they're the best SEC team, but I think they're right up there this season. With Alabama, Georgia. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. In LSU, I'm just not sold with Brian Kelly. I'm not. I cannot tell you how many times I am not sold with Brian fucking Kelly. I'm just not sold with that fucking guy. He's fake. He's a fraud. I don't like him. So, I'm giving it to Elko. I'm giving it to A&M. And what will be a tremendous matchup. I hope. And that concludes my picks for this week for college football. NFL-wise, we're going to make this short. Game number 1, Vikings versus Chargers. Thursday night. I'm going with the Chargers. I think they bounce back after that loss to the Colts. I don't think the Vikings are really that good, but give me the Chargers. Game number 2, Cowboys versus Broncos. Look, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, but they're very inconsistent. Give me the Broncos. Give me the Broncos to beat my Dallas Cowboys. And shout out to Trip McNeely, who's a big-time Broncos fan. Game number 3, Bills 4-2 taking on the Panthers 4-3. Panthers have looked pretty decent, but I gotta go with the Bills. Gotta go with the Bills. I think the Bills are a lot better than the Cowboys and whoever else the Panthers beat this season. I really do think so. Game number 4, Packers 4-1-1. Travels to Pittsburgh to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 4-2. Sunday night football game, perfect setting. The young cub in Green Bay versus the old lion that used to roam in Green Bay, now roaming in Pittsburgh. I like this matchup. I really do. as a historian in the game of football, I love Green Bay and Pittsburgh. Why is that? Because I hate both of them both. I hate both of these two teams. And historically, I just love it. I love the matchups. I love the blue-collar matchups between these two teams. And I got to be honest. As much as I think that the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl this season, I think they drop an L in Pittsburgh. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers in this game against the Green Bay Packers. Finally, the last game of the week for NFL Week 8. Got the Commanders, who are 3-4, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 4-3. What the fuck's going on in Washington, first of all? They look horrendous. Second of all, the Chiefs are resurging, as you can see in the title. The Chiefs resurgence. I think that the Chiefs are starting to kick into high gear. This is probably when Kansas City starts becoming dangerous, when they start to kick it high gear. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm going with Kansas City big in this game. I don't think that the Commanders have any. They're screwed in this game. Royally screwed. But that concludes the show for tonight. I really appreciate the views and the comments in the chat. Tune in next Thursday as we will go live at 8:30. We're going to go live at 8:30 Central Time p.m. I actually have to make a big trip up to Waco because I will be going to the UMHB game on November 1st as they take on East Texas Baptist University. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I can meet up with a couple of good friends of mine in Central Texas. But thank you guys for watching. This has been a hell of a show. I really enjoyed the likes. I really enjoyed the views. And like I said, I needed a cat nap in order to get my groove going in this week. So thank you guys for watching, and tune in next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. It seems like that the views grow more closer to the night than they do during the afternoon. So that's what I'll start doing now. This was also kind of an experiment to see where I got my views. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. We are the greatest show on YouTube Shorts talking about football, college football, and NFL. We are the PMP. Good night. Mwah. My dog knows when the show's over, by the way. And good night. Bang. Toodaloo, motherfucker.